China has blasted the British government's claims that a delay in UK mass testing was due to unclear reporting of the coronavirus outbreak. China said the British politicians' warnings were slanders, attacks, and ways to dodge their responsibilities, according to Chinese state media. This comes after Michael Gove suggested that the lack of mass testing for COVID-19 in the UK was due to China's cover-ups, which led to a delayed response from the British government. The cabinet minister said that China had not been clear about the scale, the nature, the infectiousness. The swipe comes as the UK government is being criticised for their response to the problem and its delays in ramping up coronavirus testing. Speaking on the BBC's Andrew Marr show that the government had known about the risk posed by the coronavirus outbreak since before Christmas, Mr. Gove said, "We have been increasing the number of..." It was the case that the first case of coronavirus was established in December last year. But it was also the case that some of the reporting from China was not clear about the scale, the nature, the infectiousness of this. Mr. Gove said the government had always followed the scientific advice. He said the government distributed much of the data found by experts. One senior government source said, "Of course, the only priority now is to deal with the crisis, but everybody knows that there has to be a reckoning when all this is over." Hua Chunying, the spokesperson of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, criticized UK officials over their accusation that China announced false data about the outbreak. She also lashed out at U.S. politicians for claiming that China covering up information led. Hua said, "We urge certain people to abandon political bias and prejudice and act like the Chinese government and the Communist Party of China, which prioritize the lives and safety of its people." The criticism comes as statistics show the death toll in the UK could be 24% higher than the one officially announced, as official figures could fail to reflect the deaths that happened outside of hospitals. There have been calls within the cabinet to overturn the plans to let Huawei build parts of the new 5G network. The claims come as the number of coronavirus infections in the UK has reached 22,100 and the death toll has risen to 1,004. Former Tory party leader Ian Duncan Smith wrote for the Mail on Sunday, "For too long, nations have lamely kowtowed to China in the desperate hope of winning trade deals. But once we get clear of this terrible pandemic, it is imperative that we all rethink that relationship and put it on a much more balanced and honest basis." Dominic Raab said the UK would need to collaborate with as many countries as possible to overcome the pandemic. The Foreign Secretary said, "At home here, in terms of tackling this coronavirus crisis, we need to come together as a team. Internationally, we need to bring as many countries together as possible if we're going to collaborate effectively in tackling this crisis and stopping further waves." Mr. Raab called for a lessons learnt inquiry when the crisis is